Today we have another presenter who is going to certainly just bless us tremendously. I want to share with you the subject matter for today, and I will tell you how important it is. We're talking about what project management means to government and business, the future of Black Americans and Black people globally. When you hear that conversation, you may begin to say, well, what is that all about? Well, I was trying to look at something last night about employment and unemployment. In America, the unemployment is right at 3 point something, but in the African American community is some 7 point plus. Well, I try to find out how many Black businesses were there. Well, according to there's some 2 million Black businesses. When you hear that, you say, wow, that's great. But what's 2 million Black businesses when you're talking about something like 40 million African Americans, huh? So the figures are somewhat skewed. And I think that the answer for us is getting people to start their own businesses. That's going to be our salvation. And we are delighted today to have with us Dr. Kimble. Dr. Kimble is a professor at Northern Virginia University. Dr. Kimble worked for the U.S. federal government for many, many years. His last assignment was with U.S. Small Business Administration, where he managed several program initiatives to include loan servicing, outreach, entrepreneurial training. In addition, he organized hundreds of SBA business matching engagement, bringing federal agencies and small businesses together to engage in contracting opportunities. As a lifelong learner, this morning as we're talking, he shared some new learning opportunities he's even getting. As a lifelong learner and educator, his true passion has been educating and providing career development opportunities for others. He's also an adjunct professor and educational consultant at the University of the Potomac, where he developed programs, curriculums, workforce training strategies, initiatives that address today's industry needs. He is an undergraduate with a bachelor's degree in information system technology, a master's degree in management, administration, and technology. Dr. Kimble completed his PhD in global business and leadership. Dr. Kimble is a certified project management professional, certified by Project Management Institute. Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome to the platform none other than Dr. David Kimble. Let's welcome Dr. Kimble at this time. Dr. Kimble, welcome, welcome, welcome to the Naked Truth Town Hall meeting, where we're discussing the greatness of Africa and her people throughout the diaspora. Dr. Kimble.
Wow. Did I really do all of that? Bishop Lartey, you have a unique way of making an individual feel about 2 feet taller than he really is, or she. It's a very unique gift, but it's a good gift. First of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my story and some of my experiences on this very important program. So a little bit about me, my story. You know, a lot of people don't get the chance to tell their story, you know, in a setting like this. And more people would like to tell their story. Well, my story is probably similar to most people's story. It all started many years ago. You know, with my mama. She called me David, and you all feel free to call me David as well. I'm the oldest of 6 children, and I'm raised by a single parent. By my wonderful mother, bless her heart. She's currently suffering with dementia, but through the grace of God, she's still with us.
Right.
And I was born in DC, Washington, DC.
Okay.
And at a very early age of 8, my curiosity for what was on the outside of our teeny apartment that we lived in got me in all sorts of trouble. So because I was the oldest, naturally I was the boldest.
Right.
And I tried. So one night my mother just said, "That's enough," and she put us all in the back of my uncle's old car and drove us to a place called Lynchburg, Virginia. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
it lived up to its name back in the day, Lynchburg, Virginia. Talk about that some other time. It was the longest ride I'd ever taken at that point in my life, and only God knows where I would have ended up had we stayed in D.C. at that time. It was
Mm-hmm.
pretty rough then and pretty rough now. So after high school out of Lynchburg, it was decision time. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you either go to work in the local factories or you plan your escape.
Mm-hmm.
And after watching my mother work tirelessly from week to week, payday to payday, just to keep a roof over our head and take care of us, the decision was quite easy for me: escape. So at the time, I had a couple of options. One being the military. I had maintained a clean enough record that I had that option. You know, teenagers today mess up their records so early they don't even have the option of going into the service. Some of them,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
but I had that option. And then, of course, there was the community colleges in the area, which I tried that and failed miserably because I wasn't ready academically. The high schools that I attended, the high school, you know, they were taught by, it was all Black students, all Black teachers. And let's just face it, some of the teachers just wasn't really qualified to teach what we needed to know for the world. But they did their best. So the military looked better and better. So 5 years later, after coming out of the Air Force, God's plan for me started to become clear.
Mm.
The plan was for me to be an educator and help others fulfill their meaningful positions in this complicated world we live in. So after retiring from SBA, Small Business Administration, in 2015, I kind of dedicated my life to the plan God had tasked me to do. And that was university professor, mentor, devoted husband to my wife, Rosetta, who is right there next to God as my hero.
Wow.
And basically, I just want to do unto others as I would have them do unto me. And that's my story, and I'm sticking by it.
Now that sounds interesting. I think you've just shed a major light on a subject that I want you to just go back to. You said that you were not even ready for school, and here you are today with a PhD, and not just any kind of PhD, but you're talking about PhD in technology, global leadership. What was the shift? How did you come from not being ready to where you had the kind of aptitude, attitude, and academic prowess to be where you are? What happened? What shifted for you?
Oh, okay, I want to make a correction. He don't make you feel 2 feet tall. It's 3 feet tall. Um, well, Bishop Lartey, when you're at a young age, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I realized that you either gonna go forward, stay still, or go backwards. And you look for the opportunity, I did, to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
I saw what people were doing at my age around me. They were settling in, working at the factories, getting a vehicle and being happily ever after. But something deep inside me said, God wants you to do more, boy. You know,
Okay.
just don't go over there and follow in your mother's foot tracks. Add on to where she is, you know,
Mhm.
do more.
Mhm.
So I knew that education fit somewhere into the picture, but I just wasn't ready. I wasn't equipped.
Mhm.
And that's where the military came into play for me. And I try to get young people to consider the military. It's a place to develop and mature
Mhm.
and get a paycheck, you know.
Gotcha.
And so that's the path that started me down the long road to obtaining a bachelor's, a master's, and later a PhD. And I'm not going to act like it was easy, because it was challenging. There were
Mhm.
times when you know the work was just so hard, but you know I had good supporters. Um, my mother always pushed me to do more, and my siblings, you know, they were younger than me, but they were on the move from the beginning too. One of them is a dentist in Lynchburg, Virginia. He's been there 40 years.
Mhm.
And my sister is a senior advertising marketing for the National Football Associate League. You know, and then one of them is a top-notch engineer. And you know, I had competition. I'm the oldest. I couldn't just sit still.
Mhm.
So it was inevitable that I move forward and learn and be ready for these times.
Doc, you're talking good. You're talking good because you're blessing us even before you get started. Now, help us to understand. Your mama must have been an angel all in her own rights. How was it that she was able to steer you all in the kind of career path that you all chose? And like you said, you know, your character was of such that when it came time to even go into the military, you didn't have the blemish and the problems. How did Mama do all of that? Could you just lift
Well,
Mama
well,
up a little
well,
bit for us?
well, at an early age, we understood the meaning and the purpose of a switch. Uh, where,
Uh,
where, where you, where your mother she would have us go outside and pick the switch
okay.
and bring it inside. And if we veered off track, you know, there were times when at early ages when I just didn't see a need to go to church, Sunday school. I would run away and hide in the woods. And when I came back from those woods, he said, "Go out there and get me a switch." And from that point on, I had no problem going to Sunday school. So that helped. That disciplined us. And
Okay.
again, it was just mom, no dad figure around. I'm the oldest, and
Mhm.
I was expected to set examples for the siblings. And
Mhm.
so I got to switch more often. And,
Okay.
and and believe me, those lessons stuck. And she was a perfect example for us. She is an angel, no
Mhm.
doubt about it.
Mhm.
Who
And thank you.
dedicated her
And
entire
I tell
life
you,
to
thank you.
church,
Mhm.
No,
and still,
thank you. Enjoy
Beautiful,
your day.
beautiful, beautiful.
I can't
Ah,
say enough about mom.
well, we want to congratulate her and thank her, and you know that's why I think that today we need some special time just to lift up such mothers who would be able to stir young men and women in such directions. So please, we congratulate her and thank God for. But let me ask you this question because this is Black History Month, and what does Black History Month mean to you, Dr. Kimble?
That's an outstanding question. And you know, I knew you were going to ask that, and I was with my brother and his wife. They're both dentists in Lynchburg, Virginia, and I
Mhm.
I had to go see. He's my dentist as well.
Okay.
I'll tell you a little story. You know, professors always have stories, um, and they help. Um, but one of the things my brother uh, committed to when he was going through Howard University dental program,
Hmm.
he had to go to a place in Tennessee to get certified as a
Okay.
dentist, part of the
All right.
program. And he told us that, and he needed to take patients with him to school for the training. And he said, David, if and anybody that participates in this exercise has free dental for life. Oh, I took him up on it.
Okay.
And so he's my dentist now. But I asked him the question, I asked his wife, I said, if you ask the question, what does Black history mean to you, what would you say? And naturally, they're going to say, you catch them off guard and they're going to say, well, it's not long enough. Well, we know it's not long enough. And, you know, that made me think of a good answer for it. So just like most people, I initially reflect back on the Black heroes of the day and the past, King, Obama, Bishop Lartey, and the great Nelson Mandela. How you like that, Bishop? I got you in there.
I got you. Good. Thank you. Thank you much. A hamburger for you.
You deserve it. And
you.
others that have paved the way so that we're here to be able to talk about Black history, you know. But it also makes me think of something else. You know, what have I done? You know, the question I ask myself. And then I comfort myself by saying, thinking about all of the letters of recommendations I've written for students to support employment opportunities, all the students that I've trained in the classroom, and specifically those that I've trained to obtain those certifications, those highly sought after certifications like the project management professional certification, something else that's very hot. We'll talk more about these later, but the certifications in Amazon Web Services. Amazon has changed the game when it comes to information technology. A lot of people haven't caught on to that yet, but there's a big transformation underway with what Amazon is doing. And we'll talk a little more about that later. But I'm also proud of myself for having the ability to meet people where they are, you know, and not be too quick to judge anybody. You know, I believe that if a student or a professional makes it to my classroom, they've done their part.
All right.
And the rest is up to me. Black History Month shouldn't just be about the past. It's a look forward with me.
Excellent, excellent. Now, you know, you just delved into one of the questions that I was going to ask you. I'm glad you have alluded to it. And that is, how can we as a people of greatness continue the legacy of greatness through this skills that you have called project management? What is project management, and why is that important to anybody? Why should someone think about this business of project management, and how can that help us to continue being the great people that we are?
Another great question. And you know, Bishop Lartey, it still baffles me that so many people are so uncomfortable with the term project management. And I say that because there are so many people that are so good at it, managing projects. You know, take for an example, I spend a lot of time in the classroom just providing examples of projects. So, and when people hear examples of projects, they say, oh, that's what you're talking about. So it's just terminology. You get past the terminology and you got it. Take for an example, something as simple as buying a house or an automobile.
Right.
These are projects that most adults will eventually do. And many adults will go through the processes involved in managing a project. When they do that, they will initiate, get started looking. They will do some planning. Oh, how am I going to pay for this? And then they will finally go out and buy it. We call that the execution part. And ultimately, they will finish up and drive off the lot with this. And a lot of people do that well.
Okay.
I'm not one of them. I'm impatient. I call the guy on the phone and say, this is what I want and have and do the credit check, all that. I just want to come there and drive away. I don't want to do a whole lot of planning and what options you have in it. If it's new, I figure it will run. So
Okay.
that's enough for me. Now, they say that the worst, the mechanic keeps his cars in the worst shape of all. So it's no different from project managers, but I get serious when it's necessary. Now, when it comes to leading big projects, real serious projects, the ones that involve money and resources and risk and all of that, you do have to follow some type of methodology. You know,
Okay.
we call that the 5. I'm not going to give a project management class unless somebody asks for it, but it's 5 major processes. It's a methodology that you must adhere to. And that's what the PMP certification teaches you. You know, you can't just start out executing, for example, running and gunning and spending money and hoping things turn out right. You've got to sit down with the team, the stakeholders, the people involved and say, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? It's got to make sense. That's the initiation.
Right.
It's got to make sense. And then, okay, we've got to go here. This thing makes sense. Let's do some planning.
Okay.
And, you know, people like to jump right over the planning. Let's plan, let's put a schedule together. Let's assess the risk involved. Let's just put a budget together. See if we're going to have enough money for this thing and see if we're going to have the resources that we need. You know, that's what you learn with this certification. And I tell students all the time, you may not pass the certification exam, but you will learn a heck of a lot along the way. And businesses, nationally and internationally, they want some kind of evidence that you're going to take their money and apply it using some type of methodology. That you're not just going to, you know, throw something together and hope for the best. You know, when they say, Dr. Kimble, what's the status of the project? They want to know whether you're over budget or on the schedule. They want to see earned value management reports. They don't want you to just say, I think we're doing pretty good, boss. It don't work like that when you're spending millions of dollars of people's money. That's why the certification, and what's surprising about it is it has held its value over the years. I got my certification, heck, back in 2007. And a guy talked me into doing it. It's always somebody out there that's gonna, you gotta listen to. He says, Dr. David Kimble, I wasn't even a doctor at the time. He says, I was just a professor at Strayer University. He says, you teach project management. Why don't you just get the certification? I said, okay. And I took a look at it and it wasn't easy, but you know, it's the certification. It has held its value over the years. And you still can pick up look at the ads and they say PMP certified required. You know, people just trust that knowledge that you've obtained through your certification. And there's no way to cheat on it. You know, they got these test facilities set up so that they monitor you, your ID. You know, you can't just buy it. You know, like some other degrees and certifications. But it's the certification that tells the world that you at least have the skills and knowledge to be successful with it with spending their money and using their resources. That's what this certification thing is all about.
I'm going to ask you this question, and after we'll take a few minutes break here, 2 minutes break or so. You talk about planning. Would you say then that no one really fails? You only get what you put into it?
Well, you've heard the saying, fail to plan, plan to fail. The planning lays out the steps and the controls. So you could take the risk and say, let's forget the planning. And some projects require less planning than others. But when you are spending people's money, You want to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. And you want to have a schedule and plans. A planning is just not one document. A planning is many documents.
Mm.
There's communications planning, there's procurement planning, there's risk planning, there's the work. You know, what is it we're trying to get done? Are we trying, what's not included in this plan? That kind of stuff. So again, fail to plan, plan to fail.
Wow. Listen, we're talking to Dr. David Kimble. He is a doctor who is, as you heard, he's certified in project management. And for those of you who have joined us, we want to welcome you. We will be taking a short break, but when we come back, if you are interested in really how you can start a business and what resources are out there to assist you and the rest of it, we are about to enter into that area. But until then, we will take a break here and come back and continue with Dr. David Kimble.
Thank you.
God bless.
Hey there, this is Dr. Cindy Trim sending you greetings and encouragement as we embark upon the second month of the year. This is a very special month as we celebrate Black history here in the United States of America. Did you know Black history has been celebrated every February since 1926? Did you know it all began when a Harvard historian named Carter Woodson sought to inspire schools and communities to celebrate the accomplishments of Black Americans? He wrote many books on the topic, some of which are still required reading at colleges and universities across our nation. Today, I want to acknowledge and commemorate the contribution of Woodson and Carter to American history. But even more, I want to encourage you to join the ranks of America's history makers. And for those listening from around the globe, I encourage you to make history in your nation too. If you are paying attention in this season, you will find opportunities to make history hidden in every challenge, every setback, every hardship, and every crisis. We have an opportunity to change the course of history in our generation. I want to encourage you to join me this Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as we explore the boundless opportunities awaiting you on ETV. I look forward to seeing you there. So God bless. And as always, it's a pleasure to do life with you in real time.
All right, we are back. And we are about to get into some serious conversation. As I said at the beginning of this program, that when you look at the unemployment rate in this country is at 3 point something. Then when you look at the unemployment in the African American community, is far more than that of even the national average. And the question for me is, how is it like that? And I come to the conclusion that because we do not have enough African American businesses to be able to work the 40 million plus people that we have. And so it means then that we need more Black businesses. But as we heard today, it takes planning, it takes preparation, it takes a lot to do. And I believe that we have the right person here with us today to talk about, especially those of you who may not even know about such a thing as the Small Business Administration, what it is and what it does, et cetera, et cetera. So we are going to turn our attention now to begin to look at this question of small business administration. What is it, Dr. Kimble? And in fact, how can small business administration, who is it for? Let me ask that question.
It's for the taxpayers, everybody, the world. Now, what surprises me is that I could walk out this door and ask 5 people, have they ever heard of it? And they would, maybe 2 would say, yeah, that's a federal agency. And I spent a third of my life there. I mean, it was created in 1953, a year before I was born. Oops, now you know how old I am.
Okay.
But the purpose of it is to aid and counsel and protect the interests of small businesses, you know, and of course there's contracts and loan money associated with it, but make no mistake, the SBA is not a bank. They work with the banks to make the loans. They have grant programs, etc. They are located, the headquarters is in Washington, D.C., where I was for some 30 some years I was there.
Wow.
Yes, and fortunately, my military time kicked in for retirement, so it worked out just great. The SBA is spread out all across the country, 10 regions and 69 or so district offices amongst those regions. And what I did at SBA was technology, but it's sort of like people think that if you work at a bank, then you may have a lot of money. Well, they think that I work at SBA, and all business people I talk to want to know all about getting a loan and getting grants and contracts. And I am one of the fortunate ones at SBA that my job involved communicating with the people that really do those things, deal with contracts, deal with the banks. I was a tech guy. I supported these offices and these district directors. So one of the things that I have learned through academia is if you have a network of experts, use them, call on them. And I actually called on my buddy here, Carl. I think Carl's there. I saw him because he's a district director. He runs an office, SBA office in Richmond, Virginia, and he's one of the best. Nobody tells the SBA story like Carl.
Okay.
Carl, can you jump on here, Carl?
Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hi there.
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Welcome, welcome. Yes, sir. Carl, here's the question for you, and glad that you come and you're here with us. The question I want to put to you is this. If we have an individual who wants to get into business and wants all of what is needed to have a successful business, how can the SBA be a very living, active participant in that person's desire to start a business?
That's a great question. And I heard what Dave said in the beginning. Most of the time people think all we do is give out money. That's really not our primary role. Our role is to try to create jobs. And I heard your talk earlier about creating more businesses, create more jobs. The goal is that we're trying to get to is 5 employees or more in each of these companies, because at that point you start creating economic growth. If you're less than that, you're okay, but you're not creating economic growth within the community. And that's where you get power, is from within the community. And that's where we focus. When you talk about SBA, the first place I tell people to go, you go to our website, sba.gov. And when you look at it, it will be overwhelming. And there's a tab that says how to start a business. And I tell everybody, Dave just pointed out earlier about planning, it has a checklist. And most people are impatient. And that's what entrepreneurs are. They're the risk takers, they're impatient. I can get it there. I know what I'm doing. Guess what? I've run multiple businesses. I've made a lot of mistakes. And it's because I was always trying to get there faster than I could get there. And so I tell people to really make sure you have things in place. The other thing is finding, which we have a lot of resource partners. It's just not our website. We have small business development centers. So yeah, we're located in Richmond. Let's say you're located in Topeka, Kansas. Okay, we have resources out there with our small business development centers. We have our women business centers. We have our veteran business outreach centers. We have retired executives. So we have all these different resources can consist, and most recently that's just come out, Community Navigator, that will be also coming out into the communities. So there's all this resource. The one thing that has been missed, we have not connected into the Black community. It's been missed opportunities. And one of the things is that when you're trying to work within those communities is getting all players to understand that we can all win. It's not individualism. For us to all win, we have to work together. So I'll give you an example. If I have hair salons, okay, each of those hair salons buy hair care products. Well, when they're going out and buying individually, they're paying premium dollar. If the community would come together and purchase together, you have group buying power. You get better prices, and I don't care what you charge in your store. You make your profit, but the fact is now you're creating power and you're creating leverage with your suppliers, and that's what you need for you to grow. And the other thing that a lot of the communities, a lot of things they're creating can go global, and they're not taking advantage of e-commerce. And all these tools are readily available through us to assist them. And these are things that I tell everybody every day, if you're just willing to work together, you can sit here and create a lot of neat economic opportunities.
So with that, Carl, you said some real wonderful things. One, you said that SBA has not done a great job of infiltrating the Black community. So my question would be then, how can that be done? How can we make that happen? And then the second piece that you alluded to, which is so important, that is integrating technology in our business and what we do. And the question is, just deal with that a little bit as to how could we, what kind of resources do we have in the SBA to make that happen? One, how can we make it in the Black community? And two, how can SBA assist a lady with her beauty program to integrate technology in that business?
Technology is in everybody's business. It doesn't matter if you're a mom and pop shop or if you're a highly integrated IT company. At the end of the day, all of us are tied globally. We're a global economy. I promise you, if you're purchasing something, odds are it's coming from someplace else in the world. And so we always have to be aware of this, that technology is the #1 factor that you have to have in business today to survive. You cannot survive just on pen and paper anymore, unfortunately. The reason is you're not going to generate enough revenue within the community, and you have to go outside that community. Because remember, you can get dollars within the community, but what makes a community grow is those outside dollars coming into it. So the more outside dollars I can bring in, the more my community grows. So that means if I can extend my footprint outside my community, that means more economic wealth for everyone. That means I get to grow, I get to hire people and things like that. When you talked about not connecting in the community, we have connected into communities, but it's hit or miss. And what I mean by that is, we reach out to the HBCUs to work with them, to connect into the communities, to sit there. There's a trust factor, and I totally get it. We've had these experiences working with government in the past, and they haven't helped us and all that. Those are all things I totally understand. And that's why I stress to people all the time that, be open, because not everybody's the same. And don't look at everything as the past. Look to the future. And there's always going to be somebody willing to step up. Dave called me late last night and asked me if I would do this. And I am a believer in this. And I've run my companies, I've made mistakes. And every time I try to help anyone, it's always trying to keep them from making the same crazy mistakes I made so they can get more economic success. Like I said, I've done business on every continent except Antarctica. And that was as a small business. And that's what I try to tell people. it doesn't matter that you're small, you can still do business internationally. And sometimes you're going to work so hard trying to get into the domestic market, you don't grow. But if you just reach out to the international market, you would explode. And guess what? When you explode internationally, you bring it to the domestic, they already know you're international. It's much easier to get in domestic market, depending on what you're doing. And that's why I tell people, you got to be open. You got to really understand that customer who will buy my product. And you got to remember, a lot of people globally, as soon as they see it's from the United States, they immediately relate quality, and it's good, and it's well worth it, and I want it. I've done traveling every place, I've sold every place, and that's one thing I always know. They always talk about us. That's what people compare to. So that's a big advantage for us. And that's what people have to understand.
Before we get back to Dr. Kimble, let me ask, you said that part of how SBA has functioned has been to work through and with historically Black colleges and universities. Is there any objection to working with the Black church?
Actually, I will be quite candid with you. I've reached out to numerous Black churches to try to connect and work with the groups. And I will occasionally get invited to come talk, but I'm always telling them, I don't want to come for one talks. I want to come for creating a pipeline. One talks don't solve anything. It's about creating the pipeline so it's sustainable. And that's what I always stress to the churches. That's what I stress to the Urban League. That's what I stress to the NAACP. That's the only way you create success. It is not a one-time come in and talk. It's about creating a continuous avenue of information, and then finding those people within the community that can be mentors, so they can help assist these businesses so they can move forward and grow. And that's what makes things blossom.
Fantastic. So there's no objection. And so there was an avenue whereby we could bring the Black church around the table. You'll be open to some instruction.
If you were at my doorstep today, I'd be right there and say, thank you, thank you, thank you. Now let's create it.
We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen. But thank you so much, Carl, for your experiences. And now, Brother Kimble, let's get back to you.
On that note, Bishop Lartey, I think you've got a new friend.
I got a new friend. Yes, you're right about that. You're right about that. Because what I'm thinking, and Brother David, you tell me what you think, because with this Black History program that we're doing, this is not going to be the end. We have a follow-up aspect to this. Correct. And so with such that we just heard, it is very, very possible that we can begin a serious networking opportunity through the SBA to our churches to get them aware and in tune with what the SBA is all about. Because as you well know, the Black church, we'll be talking more about that, someone said is the epic center when it comes to the Black community. If you miss the Black church, you're going to miss the Black community. So I'm glad for that door that you all have opened, and we hope to come back and check that out. So before we go back to hear something from our man talking about commercial, Brother David, will you talk a little bit about how can you use your skill set of global business and leadership to benefit not just US of A, but even the continent of Africa? How could you bring your global leadership skill set and technology to bear on that level?
Absolutely. First, I just want to say goodbye to my good friend Carl. I know he's got a busy day. Thank you, Carl, and I will be in touch. Now you guys see why I keep him on my speed dial. Never know when I'm going to need him. And Carl is just one of my colleagues around the country that steps up to the plate and talk SBA talk when the audience requires it. So on the global stage, what's really important is that you combine you have the technology, and you have the experience and education that'll like when I took the chance of majoring in my PhD in global leadership, because I wanted to touch base with outside the United States.
Right.
We grow up, Black Americans, and we never know what's outside of the United States until we meet some interesting Black students, and they start opening our minds up to the outside world. Like it's a student on here, Maria. I'm not sure if she's still here, but one of my favorite students. She's been with me all the way from bachelor's to PhD. She's and she got her PMP under my instruction. Maria, are you still here? Oh, she's an incredible young lady.
She said, I'm still here. She said, I'm still here.
Okay, if we get a chance, we'll let her jump in. So, but how we navigate and get through and learn about the waters beyond ours and the shores beyond ours. Just talking to people, and meeting people and expanding your network. Don't just think that your little circle is the world. And I know we're coming up on a break.
Before we go to break, let me just say that when we get back, I want you to talk about education. How valuable is education? When you look at the dropout and you look at young people who do not want to further their education, I need you to talk to us in this Black History program, the importance of education. And when we get back, we'll talk more about that again. Thank you. We are talking with Dr. David Kimble, one who has come from not being ready and now has a PhD, having served both in the academia, serving with federal government, and now doing even great things. We're excited about his presence, and we'll be talking more about that. We'll be back after a short break.
Now it's 4 feet tall.
3 month is over. I wanted to take a moment to give thanks to the POC, pioneers of color, that came before us. During my research, I was blown away by just how many African-American inventions we use on the day-to-day. And it got me thinking just how different life might be if it weren't for Black ingenuity. And though this video could literally be hours long, I narrowed it down to some of my favorites. The automatic gear shift, Richard Spikes. For those of us who hate driving clutch, we have this guy to thank. Though he spent most of his time as a barber, Richard went on to patent a whole bunch of other stuff that we use in automobiles. America's first clock, Benjamin Banneker. Rumor has it that Ben built his clock after studying a friend's pocket watch. His family even reported that it ticked until the day he died. Ooh. Automatic elevator doors, Alexander Miles. Without this, we'd have a lot more awkward encounters at work. You know what I'm talking about. The carbon filament and the electric lamp, Lewis Latimer. Do you know how many times I heard about Edison as a kid? Without our boy Lewis here, that idea-stealing hack would have no light. Folding chair, John Purdue. Without this, professional wrestling would be an entirely different sport. Give him the chair, John! The ice cream scooper, Alfred L. Crowell. Need I say more? The modern lock, Washington Martin. Locks. Locks, dude. For 4,000 years, locks hadn't changed. This dude rolls along, makes some changes, then we're locking everything up. The refrigerator, Thomas Elkins. Who else had leftovers for dinner last night? Well, don't forget to thank your boy Thomas, because without his improvement to the refrigerator, that meal wouldn't have been possible. The modern toilet, also Thomas Elkins. Ooh, baby, a double. My man Tommy making home and work more comfy, one amenity at a time. The mop, Thomas W. Stewart. What, were you gonna keep using your good towels to clean up spills? Portable pencil sharpener, John Lee Love. Never a dull moment with this guy. I hate me too. Potato chips, George Crumb. My favorite carb delivery system. Though all jokes aside, it's kind of destiny his name's Crumb, right? Thermostat and temperature control, Frederick Jones. Freddie, my guy, my dude. Arizona salutes you. Modern traffic light, Garrett Morgan. Thanks to Garrett, we don't have to play a game of Frogger every time we want to cross the street. Touchtone telephone, portable fax, caller ID, fiber optic cables, etc. Dr. Shirley Ann Jackson. Dr. Jackson deserves her own video. You're looking at the mother of modern telecommunications right here. Put some respect on her name. Like I said before, this is all just the tip of the iceberg. And though it's always good to stop and acknowledge those who came before us, Black history could never be condensed into a single month. Though, thanks for trying, white people. Seriously, people of color have been making waves since the dawn of time, and we're not stopping anytime soon. So raise a fist, take a knee, and thank a Black person. Because without us, your world might look a whole lot different.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I think I saw Sister Primrose all the way from Malawi. We are so delighted to have you. You want to say hello, Sister Primrose? You took the time to be with us from Malawi, one of our partners who will be coming to help us in the area. You are hearing him today, Dr. Kimble. We'll be talking about distant learning, but we're so glad that you're here. Would you like to just say hello from Mozambique, rather than say Malawi, but Mozambique?
Thank you, Bishop. It's actually Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe, okay.
Zimbabwe. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be part of you. I'm sorry I'm late. I was at work, so there was traffic jam coming back home, but I'm glad to be here. Thank you, Bishop.
Thank you, Sister Primrose. God bless you, and we're so glad that you made it. Back to Dr. David Kimble. Again, thank you so much, Doctor, and I appreciate the door that you've opened, and I will be talking more to you about it, because I think that we can really work in partnership with SBA to bring SBA into the Black church, because it is too much of a resource for us not to take advantage of it. So back to the question, Doc, what do you consider as education and its value to our young people who, in fact, are our today and tomorrow? Would you unwrap that for us as to why you see education is so important?
Well, another great question, and I do want to get a young person or student's perspective about it, but I'm quickly, education is about expanding your knowledge and awareness, and how can you advise, mentor, and support and do great things if you don't have a solid foundation? I mean, there were times when education, you didn't need, you could do physical stuff, but you want to give yourself options. And that's what the education does. It gives you options. If you want to work in an office and do thinking work, you can do that. If you want to be creative, scientists and dentists and fly around in space, you need a foundation for that. You can't just say, I want to do that, and people say, come on in. It don't work like that. It's about paying dues, Bishop, and accumulating a big debt, I might add. But there are people that get education free. Education is free in a lot of places now. In the DC schools, in Washington, DC, I know colleges that allow free education. So you can't go wrong by learning something. And the best part about an academic environment is the people you meet. It's not just the books, it's the people you connect with on the academic scene. And I want my longtime friend, she's graduated and went on about her life, Maria, to just say what education has done for her real quick. Maria.
Welcome, Maria. Let's hear you. Maria, we want to hear from you. Are you still there?
Thank you. Can you all hear me now?
Loud and clear. Go right ahead.
So it's an honor to have this opportunity to speak at this event. But one thing I really want to mention is that Dr. Kimble may not have said when we talk about global shift, education, and how you empower people. He has been that person because in a life of a young kid, of a dreamer, of a foreigner, of an immigrant, you need someone that can inspire you and teach you and make you believe in yourself. And oftentimes beyond what you can see. And I think I had the pleasure to meet Dr. Kimble many years ago when I was a student at the Potomac College. Having him as a mentor have made a difference. Today, I am a VP of a PMI Silver Spring, as I have earned my project management, and also a leader in the military, in the Navy. All of those successes have been accomplished with Dr. Kimble alongside. So one thing I want to mention is that when we talk about global shift, project management, and how can you make a difference in black young kids so they can learn how to dream beyond what they can do. And like Dr. Kimber said, he didn't know he was ready, and today he's a doctor. And that is the same path that I try to follow. And I know that together we can all achieve our dream.
Wow, Maria, you're so wonderful. Let me put this to you before we let you go. Having said what you just said, what will be your message to Africans wanting to come over to this country, doing what you've done, getting a mentor and taking education seriously? What will be your message to Africans?
A bigger message would be to have a plan. Like we said, you have to have a plan. When I remember back in 2010, 2008, when I was in Cameroon, I had a plan that when I was going to have that opportunity, I was going to learn, and I dreamed big. So if you don't have a plan, you will not be able to seize the opportunity along the way. Just
Okay.
like you might miss an opportunity to have a mentor, but don't be afraid to, because the challenges that you're going to face is what is going to define who you will become. And those challenges will make you rise above what you thought you could have done. So if I have anyone around the world who is thinking it's not always about USF, you can even dream big about being someone in your own country, entrepreneurship, whatever you're thinking about. Start having a plan and talk to other people, because if you don't share your dream, you don't share your needs and your wants, you will miss an opportunity to have someone to help you to succeed.
Wow. Thank you, Maria. Have a plan. You must have a plan. Those of you who are watching us from Africa, you heard Maria from the Cameroon has come here and is doing extremely well because she had a plan. And not only did she have a plan, but she was able to find a mentor, someone willing to work alongside her. Dr. Kimber, before we leave, because we're running close to closing time, it is so wonderful to have you. But I really, really need you to talk about how you went about effectively grooming this young lady to be where she is today. So how can we groom our young people for effective leadership and citizenship for the future?
Well, it's about inspiring and setting the right examples and meeting them where they are. You know, everybody's path is different. And Maria, when I first met Maria, she was a quiet kid in the class, and I had no idea how ambitious that young lady was. And she's still surprising me to this day by her duties in the military. And if I might, Bishop Lartey, a few takeaways before we jump off. Don't limit yourself. And stop. And there's a saying, they are lazy people. Well, if you hear this enough, you start to believe in it. And stop saying, I don't have time. Try saying, I may not have the capacity. That sounds a little better. That comforts me, but just don't act like I can't do it. I can't fit it in. You would be surprised what you could fit into your life schedule if you just give it a shot. And then there's a saying on my desk I keep here. It says, the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing.
I got you.
You got to get stuff done and network, seek out mentors and become a mentor. Surround yourself with positive thinking people. And I'll leave you with this. Mandela said, one of the most difficult things is not to change society, but to change yourself.
Wow. That is, in fact, a powerful place to end this conversation with Dr. David Kimble. We are so grateful to you on behalf of the staff and all of those from the 400 Year Celebration, Inc., our Executive Director, Dr. Kathy McFadden, our Senior Vice President, Mrs. Jacqueline Williams Lartey, and all of those from Global Commission and our staff all the way from Africa, Dr. Bishop Bennett and Sister Marilyn Landrum, etc. We want to thank you so much for coming and sharing. And I love the opportunity you've given to us to follow up to see how we can bring the Black church and SBA together. I believe we have the ability and the capacity to do that because we've got to employ more of our people. And if you have the tool, we have the people, together we can make it. Thank you so much. God bless you. We look forward to seeing you again at the next go round. Have a blessed day. And all of you who are watching with us, thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow, we're going to have a young lady, Dr. Shannon Pickett. She's going to be talking about uncovering and repairing the root cause of Black poverty, the foundation for Black economic wealth in America. We look forward to seeing you. Take care. God bless.